Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 286 based on novel. So let's start. As the light laughter sounded, I saw that around the ghost falling body, a circle of thick black fog spread rapidly, and a figure stepped out with the black fog. At this time, the face of the blocked candle also became dignified. Looking at the figure stepping out slowly from the black fog, my eyes fell on the ghost falling body, and I whispered, "Ghostfall, I can't imagine that you can still do such a thing with your cultivation of Tangyuanzun and the deputy head of the ghost breakdoor. This man is another source respected strong man. In this way, the side of crossing Erzong on the field is equivalent to having 3 strong people at the level of source respect. Even the fire has not been expected. Yeah, I said, today, Xiao Yang will be in the bag of my ghost breakdoor. Even you can't save him." At the smell of the speech, Ghostfall smiled with disdain on his face. He wanted to do things at the ghost gate and only wanted the results. As long as he could catch Xiao Yang, he didn't mind what method to use. Now, even with his fire and candle skills, he could never protect Xiao Yang. When the figure stepped out of the black fog, a powerful momentum spread outward from his body. In heaven and earth, the look on all faces changed suddenly. The 3 Yuan Zuns, such a lineup, could be called a terror. The appearance of ghost falling has shocked them greatly, but at present, Dui Zong is actually a strong person at the level of Yuan Zun. Coupled with the existence of fire and candle, there are 4 source giants on the field at the moment. It's really surprising that the sect leader came in person. Looking at the old man who stepped out of the black fog, Wu Du couldn't help grinning and hugged the latter politely. The latter also replied with a warm smile. "Lord Wu hasn't seen you for many years." His style remains the same. Ghost Xing, I can't imagine that even you, the sect leader, came forward in person. Seeing the harmony between the 2 people, the candle couldn't help humming coldly. Then he looked at the figure who had just stepped out of the black fog. The latter was also dressed in black robes, with grey hair and beard, but his old face looked unusually ruddy and full, with a faint smile at the corners of his mouth and bright light in his eyes. If he looked at it at once, it seems that he is a kind and wise ordinary old man. If he is not familiar with him, he will be confused by his appearance. Ghost break door owner. As soon as Huazhu said this, there were bursts of uproar in the city below. Many people's faces became dull and unimaginable. Today's battle actually attracted the door owners of the ghost break door. It's really incredible. Today's Tianyun Villa is really lively. It's rare to see the strong players of all parties. Unexpectedly, he showed up here one after another. "Hey, you and I haven't seen each other for a long time. Today, I just took the opportunity to visit 1 or 2. Of course, the main purpose is also..." Ghost Xing smiled faintly, his old eyes turned and looked at Xiao Yang below, saying, "You, the strong men sent by our ghost break door have been stopped by you one after another. They will never return. Now that you have arrived in the middle region, it's time to go back with us." With that, Ghost Xing's white palm gently explored forward, and an invisible force immediately formed an invisible big hand and grabbed it at Xiao Yang. The terrible force made Xiao Yang feel powerless at the moment of cohesion. His body was imprisoned in the void, so he could only let the invisible big hand hold it towards him. "You can't touch him when I'm there." However, at this moment, the candle suddenly gave a cold sound, the sleeve robe suddenly shook, and an invisible force suddenly surged out. While breaking the invisible pressure that controlled Xiao Yang's body, he also stopped the invisible big hand. For this, Ghost Xing's face remained unchanged, just smiled faintly, even turned his head and looked at the candle, saying, "After all these years, you are still the same. You have to stop me. If you don't come, I won't force it." In this regard, Huazhu's old face sank and said coldly, "Hey, since you are stubborn, I have to use some means." Ghost Xing smiled faintly. As he stepped forward, black fog diffused from inside to outside. At the same time, he shouted to the ghost and ordered, "Ghost fall, catch Xiao Yang. This time, there must be no more mistakes. Remember, delay will change." The latter heard the sound and responded. Then he sneered at the fire and candle. Immediately, He turned his eyes to Xiao Yang below. When his heart moved, the source qi in his body immediately turned around and moved. He rushed straight to Xiao Yang below. Seeing the ghost falling towards Xiao Yang, the expression on Huazhu's face changed. He just wanted to move, but then he was stopped by the ghost Xing in front of him. A pair of old eyes stared at the fire in front of him with a dark color and said coldly, "Since your goal is me, you should aim at me first. As for the ghost falling side, I believe he will deal with it." The voice fell, and the source gas spewed between Ghost Xing's hands. Then he flashed in front of the fire candle and slapped his backhand against the latter's chest. The turbulent and terrible force made the surrounding void tremble. The latter was forced to take back his sight and bite his teeth. When his body retreated rapidly, his palm turned over, an invisible fire in the palm immediately condensed out, and then collided with the palm of Ghost Xing in front of him. Bang! When the two collided, the explosion sounded like a heavy thunder. At the same time, cracks in the space spread like spiderwebs, and then burst under the sweep of energy. The two of them suddenly retreated, and the fire candle hurriedly looked at Xiao Yang, but saw that the ghost fall had come to the top of Xiao Yang's head. At the moment, the two people were still struggling with the Lord of the Owl Hall, even with the help of blood, giant elephant decision and even white birch. At the moment, they still had to deal with a Lord of the Owl Hall. How could they take into account the sudden ghost fall? While they were concentrating on dealing with the Lord of the Owl Hall, they did not see the ghost falling behind. Naturally, the former had noticed it long ago. At this moment, when they saw it, they sneered at the cold in their eyes, and the source gas in their bodies surged wildly. They slapped the two people in the front. Before they could respond, a surging force immediately gushed out of their palms. At the same time, the ghost falling behind them slowly raised two palms and printed them gently towards Xiao Yang's vest. Boom! But at this time, on the clear sky, a burst of thunder suddenly exploded. At the same time, there was a sky-shaking dragon roar. The golden thunder suddenly fell from the depths of the void, and everyone in the world was shocked. At the same time, behind Xiao Yang and his two people below, a pair of cold palms were stabilizing their body shape. At the same time, a startling thunder also burst on the ghost falling behind. In the sky, when everyone looked up, on the 9 days, the originally invisible void suddenly burst into a huge black hole. Immediately, a huge golden dragon glittering with golden thunder also fell in the sight of everyone. When the mighty dragon howling rang through the world, the huge body of the golden dragon leaped out of the endless void. A pair of golden huge eyes with a look of arrogance swept through the people present. Anyone who saw those eyes was afraid. Even the source respected the strong, his heart was also awe. This is the Dragon Clan. How did the Dragon Clan appear here? Seeing the shining golden dragon leaping out of the endless void, the faces of several Yuanzuan strong men present suddenly changed, and the dignified color was revealed in the depths of their eyes. The dragon family is the supreme power in the world of Warcraft and has little contact with humans. Although the golden dragon cultivation in front of him is only Yuanzong, once it offends him, these people present will face the anger of the whole dragon family. Even the Ghost Temple and the Cloud Fairy sect can't afford the anger, not to mention the other two present. Just now, what surprised them was how the dragon people suddenly appeared here for no reason. At the same time, Xiao Yang, who was under the crowd, was looking up at the golden dragon in the sky with a pair of new red eyes. Although his body shape and appearance changed slightly, the familiar breath still made him feel kind. This familiar warmth eased Xiao Yang's anger and grief. When one person and one dragon's eyes touched together, their deep feelings were finally moved again. Boom! The thunder continued on the 9 days. Surrounded by bursts of golden thunder, the huge golden dragon gradually turned into a human shape and turned into a handsome young man with blonde hair. Although his appearance was quite mature, there was a little childish color in his eyes. Countless people stared at the scene in the sky. They were both frightened and curious. While everyone's affairs were gathered on Xiaojin at the moment, the latter's body was shaking without any spatial fluctuation. In the blink of an eye, it had appeared in front of Xiao Yang at the moment. Such a shocking scene made the faces of those Yuanzuan strong men in the sky suddenly change dramatically. In their eyes, even the strong men of the same level could never flash without causing the slightest spatial fluctuation, but the dragon youth in front of them was so understated, which was really terrible. When people's eyes looked at Xiao Jin again, they found that there was another young man in gold beside Xiao Yang. At this time, the latter was pinching the ghost's throat with one hand and easily kicked the latter's body in the air. As for the Lord of the Owl Hall, it was in the previous thunder bombing, it was blown into nothingness. The strong dragon. Seeing the young man in gold robe, the ghost Xing in the sky suddenly sank in his heart. Even with his always calm temperament, he finally couldn't help but change his face when he saw the young man. There is no doubt about the strength of the dragon family. Once they come forward, even the ghost break door has to retreat. Look at the situation on the field at this time. These two people are obviously coming for Xiao Yang, but all his preparations have been turned into nothingness in an instant. On the other hand, Huazhu was surprised when he looked at this scene on the field. However, he was even more thankful that the two dragon people were obviously on Xiao Yang's side, which showed that today's ghost break door was doomed to not take Xiao Yang away. On the side of Qianyun Villa, Luo's 7 heroes, Luo Cheng and other Luo family strongmen all looked at Xiao Yang, Xiao Jin and others below with shocked faces. They could not imagine that Xiao Yang would still have contact with the people of the dragon family. You know, the latter is just a newcomer to the central region. If the emergence of the great elder of Yunxian sect is due to the ghost temple, then the dragon family, there is no doubt that he came to Xiao Yang. What kind of person can actually attract the dragon family? I haven't seen you for years. I've grown up. Looking at Xiao Jin, who was almost unrecognizable in front of him, Xiao Yang couldn't help but exclaim. Naturally, he could see that Xiao Jin's cultivation now seems to have stepped into the realm of Yuanzong. Such cultivation is much better than him. If it weren't for the familiar smell emanating from the little guy, Xiao Yang would really dare not recognize him. Hey, brother Xiao Yang, I'm not late. Hearing the speech, Xiao Jin Shan smiled, scratched his head and said. As soon as these words came out, Xiao Yang's face was stunned. The mood he had just recovered was much lower immediately. At the thought of Xiao Yishen, Xiao Yang's heart had a rising sense of killing. Looking at Xiao Jin in front of him, Xiao Yang still clenched his fist to calm his mood, slowly shook his head and said, "You're not late. I'm too late." When saying this, Xiao Yang couldn't help a touch of bitterness in his eyes. Although he had understood the feelings of the little medical fairy for a long time, he was still hesitating and struggling. Until today, the death of the little medical fairy made him feel a burst of regret in his heart, but it was too late. Seeing that Xiao Yang's face became gloomy, Xiao Jin couldn't help frowning and turned to look at the dragon scale on one side. The latter frowned slightly and seemed to see something. Two friends of the dragon family, today's incident is the gratitude and resentment between Ju Zong and Qianyun Mountain Villa. It doesn't seem appropriate for you, as members of the dragon family, to intervene horizontally. At this time, Wu Du's slightly low voice suddenly came. Although he saw the two dragon people go to Xiao Yang's side, he let him remain silent and wait for meaningless judgment. Wu Du couldn't do it. As a source of respect and strength, he naturally has his arrogance, even if the other party is a dragon. What do you want? Hearing the speech, Xiao Jin turned his eyes to Wu Poison in the sky and said with a light smile. Seeing that Xiao Jin had no intention of refuting, the latter immediately relaxed his mood and grinned. If Xiao Yang is a friend of the two, then his business, the patriarch can look at the two and let bygones be bygones. However, he abducted the saint of Duerzong. This man must be returned. As soon as he said this, the rest of the people around him immediately laughed at him. The other party just gave him a good face. Did this guy really think there was room for turning around? The Dragon Clan has always been arrogant and domineering. No one has ever been able to negotiate terms with them, and Wu Du is no exception. Hearing Wu Du's words, Xiao Yang's face was indifferent, while Xiao Jin couldn't help laughing. A pair of golden eyes showed a touch of irony. First, regardless of the true and false debate type of Wu Du's words, even if it was true, as long as Xiao Yang dared to do it, he would unconditionally support it. If you want someone, you can. At the same time, the dragon scale beside Xiao Jin frowned, and then it seemed to think of something. He looked at Xiao Jin in a dumb moment, but saw the latter pointing at him with a joking face and said, "As long as you can beat him, you can choose the people here. Hey, you boy, how dare you take me as a thug?" Seeing that Xiao Jin pushed himself out, Long Lin couldn't help laughing and scolding. The former turned his mouth and said slightly proudly, "Before leaving, the patriarch asked you to protect me. If you don't want to fight him, I can only come by myself." Hearing the speech, Long Lin immediately had no choice but to smile bitterly. He immediately threw out the half-dead ghost he was holding in his hand. Then he stepped forward and turned positive. At the same time, a terrible momentum far beyond everyone present swept through his body. At this moment, even the sky over Tianyun Villa turned pale, and there were bursts of wind and thunder. Even the air has been moistened a lot. At this moment, the strong men of Yuanzuan in the sky all look at the former with a very dignified face. I'm afraid it's the joint efforts of Yuanzuan present, plus the 7 males of Roche, who can't resist. We can see the strength of the dragon scale. Since you want people, do what the little guy wants. As long as you can defeat me, or defeat me once, you can choose the people here. In the void, the body shape of the dragon scale slowly moved to be level with Wu Poison. The words that sounded quite plain in his mouth revealed a sense of madness and contradiction, which revealed the arrogance of the people of the dragon family. However, after hearing this, Wu Du couldn't help but draw the muscles in the corners of his eyes. Such ironic words seemed to despise him too much, but then again, after all, he saw with his own eyes that Long Lin threw the ghost fall out. In terms of strength, Ghost Fall was no better than him, even better than him. If it was a real fight, he may not be the opponent of the latter, but fortunately, in the face of Dragon Scale, he only needs to defeat the latter for 1 round. As a dragon family, your words must be resounding. After pondering for a moment, Wu Poison was moved. On his head was the strong and powerful pressure emitted from the dragon scale, and said coldly, "Hee, don't excite me. People of the dragon family always spend a lot of money. Let alone defeat me. As long as you can defeat me for 1 round, I will count." Dragon Scale sneered and shook his right hand out of thin air, which was to condense a stream of source gas between heaven and earth in the palm of his hand. This means surprised the other source masters present. On the premise of not consuming their own power, they controlled the power that has not been refined between heaven and earth. Although they can do this, it is not as easy as the former. It is impossible to condense such a powerful energy. From this point of view alone, the strength of dragon scales is much stronger than them. This guy, I'm afraid it's not an ordinary Yuanzuan. Seeing this scene, Wu Du's heart sank secretly. He didn't dare to be careless. The source qi in his body surged wildly. In the void around him, the power of Purple and Black Avenue also condensed. 10,000 Poison Avenue. The purple-black poison fog quickly condensed into strange tents around Wu Poison's body. The latter looked at the tents in front of him and hesitated for a moment. Then he bit his teeth, moved his body and went straight through one of them. Buzz. When his body passed through the avenue tent, it seemed that a layer of purple and black poison material was immediately smeared on his body. A terrible smell diffused from Wu Poison's body. At the same time, a poisonous gas more terrible than the ordinary poisonous fog spread rapidly. When the poisonous gas touched the astrolabe array, the terrible energy between them was suddenly consumed violently. Under the erosion of the poison gas, even the light on the astrolabe array was slightly dim. Looking at the wall below, although it was protected by runes, it was still melted at a speed visible to the naked eye. Hiss! What a terrible poison! Seeing this scene, all the people in the lower city could not help but change their faces. Such poisonous gas was terrible. Even the city wall guarded by runes could melt. At the moment, the dragon scale was also frowning at the scene in front of him. With strong cultivation, although the poisonous gas could not easily get close to his body, it was terrible, it still makes him jealous. The road of 10,000 poisons? It is said that the founder of Dui sect mastered this road of 10,000 poisons. It is so terrible that even the source saint and the strong can't do anything. But the power of this road also has a premise, that is, the person who understands must be a disaster poison body, otherwise he can't bear the pain of 10,000 poisons. If you're not a disaster poison body, How can you control the road of 10,000 poisons? With the eyesight of dragon scale, we can naturally see that Wu poison is not a disaster poison, but in that case, why can he show the road of 10,000 poisons? Ha ha ha, the people of the dragon family are really knowledgeable and know so much about the 10,000 poison avenue. You're right. This sect is not a disaster poison body, but this sect is a pseudo-disaster poison body. One day, this sect will become a real disaster poison body. I Wu poison will become the second Yi Shengju. At the same time when the crazy laughter fell, 4 tenths had passed through Wu Du's body. Up to now, the latter's body had turned into purple and black, and even his hair had withered and fallen off. His skin and flesh had shrunk and sunken, and the whole person became like a corpse. His eyes also turned purple and black, and his hands and fingers were thin and dark, the nail is sharp, flat and long, and the purple-black poison gas covers it, emitting bursts of evil breath. In the twinkling of an eye, Wu Du seemed to become a monster. Looking at the dragon scale in front of him, all his emotions were left behind. At this time, Wu Du had only one idea in his heart to kill the dragon scale. Looking at the Wu poison that has become inhuman and ghost at the moment, Dragon Scale's eyes can't help feeling disdain. The strength of Wandu Avenue is that it can continuously add terrible toxins to its body. All toxins flow into the body. After some condensation, they are completely integrated with the source gas, and burst out several times more powerful than usual. However, because Wu poison itself is not a disaster poison body, this guy actually condenses the power of the 10,000 poison avenue in vitro by means, so as to bless the source gas. Although this can also achieve great results, it can be seen from the appearance of the latter at the moment that he knows that such a skill will pay a very painful price. Wu poison is digging his own grave. In the sky above Qianyun Villa, except Wu poison and Long Lin, all the others are retreating for more than 100 feet. The 7 heroes of Luo family stick to the array. Luo Cheng falls into the city with a group of elders, and Ghost Xing also retreats alone. He takes the opportunity to pick up the ghost. Seeing the latter's embarrassed appearance at the moment, he can't help scolding in his heart, but he is helpless. If it weren't for the 2 dragon people in front of him, Xiao Yang has already become their meat at the moment. How can he end up like this at the moment? Although it seems that this guy has some means in the battle between Wu poison and Long Lin, Wu poison is not a real disaster poison body, and it is difficult to give full play to the positive power of the 10,000 poison avenue. In front of the strong dragon, the result can be imagined. If it wasn't for Long Lin's previous words, Wu poison wouldn't have the courage to fight with him. Well, whether it's true or false, it still looks like that. Let me see today. This once famous poison avenue in the mainland can play a bit of power in your hands. Looking at Wu Du, who was in a strange shape at the moment, Long Lin smiled, slowly raised his right hand and extended it to the former, made an invitation gesture and said, "Please, Buzz." At the moment when the voice in Dragon Scale's mouth fell, a terrorist pressure in Wu Poison's body, which was more than several times stronger than before, suddenly swept outward. At the same time, there was a thick poisonous fog like black smoke. For this terrible poisonous gas, even the faces of the Source Masters outside the field at the moment could not help being slightly moved. Wu Poison's mind moved, and the poisonous fog shrouded in his voice immediately condensed and turned into more than 100 dark poisonous snakes. Under the control of his mind, he shot at the dragon scale in the twinkling of an eye. 110 poisonous snakes passed through the void like dark lightning. The next moment, they appeared in front of the dragon scale, twisted, and bited hard at the vital points of the latter's body. In this regard, the divine love on the dragon scale was unmoved. He looked at the poisonous snakes less than 1 meter away from his body. Then he slowly took a half-step backward. While retracting his right hand, his fingertip gently touched several places in the void, and the invisible void immediately spread out circles of invisible space ripples and a solid barrier. It was such an understatement that appeared in front of the dragon scale. Bang bang! Let those poisonous snakes collide with the invisible barrier. Wu Poison's fierce offensive was easily blocked. Outside the battle circle, Huazhu and others saw the hand of dragon scale and couldn't help smacking their lips. Their eyes were full of envy. It's worthy of being a member of the dragon family. I'm really superb in controlling the power of space. I can't be as relaxed as him with this skill alone. Ha ha, your 10,000 Poisons Avenue doesn't have only this power. It's a bit embarrassing. Dragon Scale shook his right hand out of thin air, and the void in front of him suddenly twisted and burst. Together with the last part of the poisonous snake, they were crushed and burst. Hearing the speech, Wu Du's face turned a little blue, and a cold hum came out from his nose. Immediately, the soles of his feet stamped the void, and his body immediately flew forward. His hands and fingers opened, and the suction in the palm surged. Even if he condensed the broken poisonous snakes again, entangled and coiled them into two huge black spears with cold orn all over. Go! With a low cry, the huge black spear swept forward like lightning one after another under the strong black poisonous fog, and then flashed away. While the black spear disappeared, the dragon scale's eyes were slightly frozen. His right hand was slowly lifted up, his index finger was stretched out, and he gently touched the void in front of him. When the space fluctuation spread, a huge spear also emerged. Then 5 fingers rotated and grasped it out of thin air. A terrible force of space suddenly appeared at the same time, just like countless steel knives. He bombarded the spear fiercely and chopped Zhisheng to pieces. Hiss! Suddenly, when the sound of breaking the air came again, the dragon scale seemed to have noticed it long ago. A sneer arose at the corners of his mouth and his head tilted slightly to one side. Then, the other huge spear suddenly broke out of the void on one side and flew close to the left cheek of the dragon scale. Then the next moment, Wu Du's body shape also followed. With a ferocious face, he came to the dragon scale. The 5 fingers of his right hand bent into claws, and one claw cut down against the dragon scale's chest. When the 5 fingertips break through the void, they emit bursts of sharp sonic booms. Even if the fierce wind is separated by a distance, it is still shocking. Shua. Almost at the same time that Wu Du appeared and shot, Long Lin's right hand suddenly stretched out and grabbed the huge spear that would pass by. Then, when the 5 fingers of the former fell, the spear in his hand was waving hard at his head. Seeing this scene, Wu Du was shocked and forced to turn his body forward. Then he felt a cold wind passing over his head. At the same time, the claws he waved forward were also easily hidden by the dragon scale. Ha ha, take my palm and try. Just after the blow, before Wu Poison could breathe, the body shape of Long Lin suddenly met Wu Poison. With his right hand turned over, the air roared in the palm and the void under his palm was broken. Then he laughed and slapped at Wu Poison. With one palm, the surrounding void rolled violently like a lake thrown into a boulder. Wu Du's face changed again at this moment. While his body rapidly retreated, his poison immediately condensed in the palm of his hand, and the source gas in his body did not dare to rush out. The skill of the road, 10,000 poison palm. The black poison gas condensed like lightning in Wu Du's palm. In the next moment, a thick layer of black viscous energy quickly condensed on his palm. It seems to be somewhat similar to silt, but the power contained in it is frightening. The black poison palm formed rapidly, and Wu Poison immediately came forward and blasted out. The next moment it appeared in front of the palm blasted out by the dragon scale. Soon, they collided heavily. The moment they touched each other, the void and poison fog surrounding them suddenly rioted, the black poison fog rolled violently, and the invisible void collapsed. The vast energy between the palms of the two also poured out at this moment and collided violently. Boom! Under the gaze of countless eyes around, an explosion like a heavy thunder immediately rang through the sky. The terrible energy storm spread from the sky. The dark cracks nearly 100 meters long quietly appeared like gullies above the void. Such a scene was like a ferocious mouth suddenly opened in the sky, which made countless people cold. Bang! In the sky, when the energy storm spread, the two figures all retreated violently. In the sight of everyone, the dragon's scale retreated 100 steps, which was a free standing in the void. It was the latter. Every time the soles of his feet fell into the void, he would stamp out a dark trace of the void, and his body was quite embarrassed. It was not until 100 feet away that he shook and stabilized his steps. The spread of the energy storm also brought a hurricane sweeping the world. The forests around the city and countless towering ancient trees were forcibly raised by this force, and then flew to the distance. The scene was like the end of the day. What terrible energy, the real fight between the source and the strong, is actually such a scene. The scene in the sky immediately made a sound of shock in the city below. Looking at the huge space cracks in the sky with shocking eyes, the shock in my heart increased with each more look. Ha ha, it seems that you still don't want to be the second Yi Shengju. You have no skin, no face and no model. You also want to catch up with such people? One after another easily beat back Wu Poison, and Long Lin couldn't help laughing with a joking look. In the distance, Wu Du heard Dragon Scale's sarcastic words, and his pale face suddenly became iron blue. At the same time, his fear in his eyes also deepened. Although the dragon family is arrogant, what I have to say is that they do have arrogant capital and strong strength like Dragon Scale. Even if he has fought the road of 10,000 poisons and the skill of the road, unexpectedly, Wu Du didn't beat him back once. Wu Du has no doubt that even people of the same level can't do it easily. It can be seen that the cultivation of Dragon Scale in front of him must be much higher than him. Hihi, what's the matter? Is the patriarch going to continue to be important? If you still want to, you can try it slowly. At this time, Xiao Jin's faint smile came again, which made Wu Du more embarrassed. The latter's insulting behavior made him secretly angry. No matter what, now he can only break his teeth and swallow in his stomach. If he continues to entangle like this, I'm afraid it will be difficult to finish today's matter. At this time, Xu Shuang, the elder of Dui sect, also came to Wu Du with a dignified face. They looked at each other and could see the bitterness in the bottom of each other's heart. They hesitated for a long time. Then they bit their teeth and looked at Xiao Jin and Long Lin again. Unwilling to arch their hands at several people, they said, "Today's matter is really my fault. If I offend you, I hope you can include it." As soon as this remark came out, not only the city below, but also Luo Cheng and others in the sky breathed a sigh of relief. Wu Poison was soft. Then today's World War I finally had an end. Although there were many twists and turns, fortunately, there was no big mistake, although. With this in mind, the strong men of the Luo family couldn't help but turn their eyes to where Xiao Yang is at the moment. After the previous war, Xiao Yang is sitting on the ground and quietly recovering the condition in his body. Although it looks calm, everyone present knows that this calm is only short. On the other side, Ghost Xing's gloomy eyes slowly swept over everyone present, and finally stopped on Xiao Yang and others, slowly saying, "Xiao Yang, remember, as long as you are still alive, I will catch you back sooner or later. You can escape for a while, but you can't escape for a lifetime. Remember." Then, with a half-dead ghost in his hand, Wu Du quickly flew back in the direction of coming. Later, Wu Du took a Zhong's man, arched his hands at Xiaojin and Long Lin again, and immediately turned back. At this point, the Battle of Tianyun Mountain Villa is over. Although Xiao Yang wants to take the Ghost Xing on the spot, he still has more heart than strength. Although Long Lin is present, they also know that the latter's action is only in Xiaojin's face. Moreover, with the strength of Ghost Xing, even if he takes a seriously injured body, he wants to leave here, it's not difficult. Once the war is over, Tianyun Villa will be hard to recover in a short time. Not to mention the damage during the war, it is also an extremely huge number of spirit stones consumed to run Tai Astrolabe. In the next few months, they will have to keep a low profile for a while. In a twinkling of an eye, 3 days have passed, and everything in Tianyun Villa has returned to normal. Except for the strict control of the people's access, the rest seem unchanged. Xiao Jin and Long Lin also temporarily live in Tianyun Villa because of Xiao Yang and his party. Naturally, Tianyun Villa is full of joy for the presence of the dragon people. The dragon family has a high status in the world of Warcraft. Even human forces have countless people who want to have a good relationship with them, but so far, no human force can be associated with the dragon family. Now the people of the dragon family actually live in his Tianyun Villa. Once the news comes out, it will be of great benefit to his villa. In addition, Huazhu also temporarily lived here. Bai Hua and others were confused about the reason, but the Luo family did not dare to neglect it. For a time, the strong people of the dragon family and Yangxianzong all lived in Tianyun Villa, which made countless people happy. Of course, The Luo family understood why they could live here. It's mostly because of Xiao Yang. In the conference hall of Tianyun Villa, the high-level Luo family accompanied Long Lin here. From time to time, there were bursts of heroic laughter between the two sides, which sounded quite harmonious. On the other side, in a secret room, Xiao Yang sat here with no expression on his face. In front of him was an extremely exquisite ice coffin. The lid of the coffin was not closed. Inside, a beautiful woman in a long white dress lay quietly. Her cheeks were white and smooth like warm jade. Although she had no breath, she was still like a stranger. This ice coffin was made by Xiao Yang with the extremely cold ice soul contained in his hand. With the blessing of different fire and some special means of Xiao Yang, it can ensure that the corpse in the ice coffin can be kept intact. Although he doesn't know how long the time limit is, Xiao Yang insisted again and again. In the final analysis, he doesn't believe that the little doctor in front of him is really dead. After years of company, he had already made all this a habit. Now he looked at the beautiful person lying in the cold ice bed. He couldn't believe it or didn't want to believe it. Staring at the white cheeks of the little doctor, Xiao Yang couldn't help returning to the original feelings in his mind. The corners of his mouth couldn't help smiling and crying. Outside the secret room, Liana and others guarded quietly. As disciples, Liana should have gone in, but they understood that the little medical fairy at this time only wanted to be alone with Xiao Yang. I'm afraid it's the only situation. This video will end here.